Hey, financially savvy travelers. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Danielle Desir, and I am super excited, per usual, to be here talking with you today. As we did last week, we're going to continue on the conversation all about really thinking about how to manage your money when it comes to being on the road and traveling. Now, we could talk about domestic travel as well as international travel, but we're going to try to combine the two together. And I'll definitely be doing another video exclusively on how to manage your finances while you're on the road abroad. So, the first thing I want you to think about when it comes to managing your money, when it comes to traveling right now, is number one, making sure that you're figuring out which credit card that you're going to be using. Or if you prefer debit, that's okay too. But when it comes to being a financially savvy traveler and really trying to optimize our finances as much as possible, credit card hacking and using credit cards to maximize your earning potential towards free travel down the future makes a lot of sense, right? So we definitely want to be mindful of the credit cards that we're going to be bringing along with us on the road. And we really want to make sure that we're bringing credit cards that, number one, offer the most amount of cash back or ability to earn bonus points and miles, especially with a couple categories. Okay. So with that being said, my name is Danielle Desir and welcome to the Thought Card YouTube channel. I'm super excited. I am all about really helping financially savvy travelers make more informed financial decisions. And with that being said, again, today we're all going to be talking about managing your money on the road. So when it comes to the travel credit cards that you're going to be thinking about bringing, I want you to think about the credit cards in your wallet that are really going to help you to maximize your earning potential when it comes to a few key categories. And you want to align this with your spending. So your spending when you're on the road is usually going to be what? It's going to be making sure that your food, food and dining out is a big expense. We want to bring credit cards that offer 2, 3, 4, 5 times the earnings potential on those credit cards. Okay. So really being mindful, bring credit cards with you that are going to help you to maximize. A lot of credit cards also offer additional points and miles for transportation. So transportation is another expense that you're going to be incurring on the road. And, we do incur some random other types of expenses like buying gifts and paying for attractions. So if you have a credit card that offers 2 times the rewards per dollar spent or 3 times, then this is the credit card that you definitely absolutely want to bring with you on your trips. Okay. Now, after you figured out which credit card or credit cards you want to bring with you on the trip, I would definitely recommend to call your credit card company, or a lot of these credit card companies actually offer an ability to notify them through their portal. So with that being said, that can really help you prevent really some of those catastrophes when your credit card company's like, is this fraud? And they close down your card and you only have one card, right? We don't want that. And we don't want to have that inconvenience. So if you can let them know, let the credit card companies know either by giving them a call or logging into your portal and notifying them and letting them know that, listen, I'm going to be traveling either, across the country, or I'm going to be traveling internationally. So that will help you to just really. Thirdly, really making sure that you have some cash. So cash on hand, although yes, we prioritize travel hacking and making the best use of credit cards, cash is very important to have. It's really important for emergencies or just generally if you want to use cash to manage your finances or to help you to manage smaller items in your travel budget, that could be really helpful. So making sure that you have some cash with you when you're on the road is super important. So when I'm traveling, especially international, I try to bring with me between $200 and $300 of cash in that currency. That will just make me feel secure just in case if anything happens and I need cash really quickly and I don't have access to an ATM or they don't accept credit card for whatever reason, I know that I have some funds with me for just incidentals. Okay. So that's really, really helpful. The fourth thing I wanted to mention when it comes to managing your money on the road is to come up with a frequency with how often you want to check in on your travel budget. So at some points when I'm traveling, I may have the capacity and time to do a daily check-in, But more realistically, I do a check-in maybe after a couple of days just so that I can keep a track and a lid on my spending. So what I've found and what has been common for me personally is that when I am traveling, I may be not paying attention to my budget and spending can really start to add up. And if I don't really keep a mindful eye on it and even try to pay that credit card off as I go, when I come home, I'm usually like so upset at myself that I overspend and I'm coming back home to a credit card bill that is a lot more expensive than I can afford. So, how I've been able to mitigate that risk is by really making sure that every couple of days, or if I have the capacity every single day, I'll go into my credit card platform and I will try to pay that bill off for that day. And the reason why I like this strategy is because it really allows you to, number one, still earn points and miles using your credit card, but also you start to use your credit card as a debit card. So you're not only like swiping, but you're also paying it off really quickly, not having to necessarily wait until when you get home, but you can be paying your bill off on the road. So there are lots that you can do there. I try to do it every couple of days in case if I can't do it every single day. Okay. So those are the 4 or so tips that I have for you when it comes to managing your money on the road. Number one, making sure that you pick the right credit card. It's so important. You want to pick credit cards that offer you the most points and miles for those categories like your dining, your transportation, even your hotel, your lodging. Like we want to make sure we're getting 3 times, 5 times, definitely more than 1 time points and miles on the road. We also want to notify our credit card companies, let them know like, hey, either through your portal or calling them up and letting them know that, listen, I am going to be out of town. Please do not cut me off because I'm going to be traveling. So they'll know, and that gives them a heads up. Making sure that you carry cash with you for incidentals or emergencies, or sometimes you're going to be unable to even get access to an ATM. So that could be really helpful. And then last but not least, making sure that you're keeping a lid on your budget, your travel budget, and checking in on your credit card to make sure that you're not like going ham and going overspending. So you can do that as often as you like. I have done it, daily, but as well, I've also done it maybe a few times a week. Okay. So that's part one. So that's if you're traveling domestically. All right. If you are traveling internationally, you definitely still absolutely want to let your, credit card company know that you're going to be traveling abroad. That is super important. Again, we don't want them to be freezing our accounts or suspecting us of any fraud. So that's helpful. Now, when it comes to carrying cash with you, there's an extra step because instead of, bringing your US dollars with you, if that country you're going to doesn't accept US dollars, then you're going to want to make sure that you're carrying their currency. So what I try to do is before my trip, usually 2 weeks before, I go into my brick and mortar and I ask them, do they have this currency? Sometimes they have this currency, like let's say if it's euros, they will have this currency on hand because it's very common and there's a lot of transactions with the euro. But if it's one of those currencies that's not as frequent, like for example, when I go to Iceland, I'm looking for the Icelandic krona. Or when I was going to China, I had to get the yen. Those were currencies that I actually had to order through my bank. So it took a couple of days. So you definitely don't want to don't want to be asking for currency exchanges, especially if you're doing it through your brick and mortar the day of, because there may be a chance that you may not be able to get it with them. So try to do it at least a week or 2 weeks ahead of time so that you can have that all set. So exchanging your currency is awesome. And again, just for incidentals, when you arrive at your destination or your new country, you're not scrambling for cash because again, not all countries are heavily and predominantly credit card like we are in the United States. And it's important to be mindful of that. An example that I wanted to share with you also is that it really depends on the country and your research because some countries are very card heavy and you could use your card pretty much everywhere. Like Iceland, you don't necessarily need to have a lot of cash with you on hand. Whenever I travel to Iceland, my cash spend is minimal because they are very plastic driven, like you could just literally go anywhere and you could pay with their credit card, or a debit card or whatever. So that's that's fine. But when I was traveling to countries like China, being able to use my debit card or my credit card was really difficult and challenging. And I can't even remember when I actually was able to do that. So we had to make sure that we had enough yen on us to cover our entire 10-day stay. So it really depends. Do your research before you go. Don't leave it to last minute. You definitely want to make sure that you are equipped and you're well informed. Okay. And I also wanted to mention that with that being said, when you're traveling abroad, there's going to be a different currency, and exchange rates are important, and really on trying to understand like how much you're spending in your currency versus their currency can be hard, especially if you're doing it at the top of your dome. So I would recommend downloading a currency app. So I usually use Oanda Currency Converter, OANDA. I think that's OANDA Currency Converter. And I believe they have an app, but I'm sure you could go in the app store and find currency converter apps. And that will allow you to have on hand, like, how much currency, how much of dollars are you really spending on the road, right? So that's really, really helpful. So making sure that you have a currency app, currency app, there you go, currency app when you're on the road is also really, really important. Last but not least, when you're traveling abroad, you absolutely do not want to be taking with you a credit card that is going to have a lot of foreign transaction fees. So you want to make sure when you're selecting which cards that you're going to bring, not only selecting them, but also making sure that you're doing the research. Number one, is there a foreign transaction fee? If there is, keep it at home. You want to make sure you're bringing cards that don't have a foreign transaction fees. And you also want to make sure that you're bringing cards that allows you to maximize points and miles on dining, on hotels, on transportation, and all of that. So there's quite a few things to actually consider financially before you hit on the road. Okay. That's really important. And like I mentioned, when it comes to domestic travel, I still think about doing daily check-ins with my finances, especially I think when you're abroad, like you never know, you may get pickpocketed, or you may, let's say, be run into like a scam or something like that. So it just may be good to have another layer of protection by keeping an eye out on your finances on a daily or frequent basis. Okay. So that is all that I have for you today. If you enjoyed this video, definitely hit that subscribe button. We have tons of other content that you can watch, as well as definitely find my podcast, the Thought Card Podcast, on your favorite podcast player, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, all of the places. So you can not only watch the videos here, but you can also check out our awesome interviews and learn more about becoming a financially savvy traveler. With that being said, next week, I'm going to be sharing the three reasons why you should be considering travel hacking. Why should you invest the time in learning how to maximize your points and miles to earn free travel? Why is that a thing? And I'm definitely going to be debunking all the myths there and sharing the reasons why I think it's super important as a financially savvy traveler. Thank you everyone for coming. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them down in the comments below and hit that subscribe button. All right, talk to you all soon. Bye.